Being honest may not get you a lot of friends, but it will always get you the right ones. Most people spend their lives softening the truth to keep others comfortable, bending their words to avoid conflict, and hiding who they really are in order to be liked. But honesty is a filter. It removes the people who only stay when you tell them what they want to hear, and it keeps the ones who can handle the full weight of who you are. A life built on honest connections is richer than one crowded with shallow agreements. Do not worry about what other people are thinking, because the truth is, everyone is only thinking about themselves. The embarrassing thing you said at dinner last Tuesday, the person you said it to has already forgotten it. People are too consumed by their own fears, insecurities, and daily battles to spend much time analyzing yours. Once you truly understand this, a great deal of anxiety simply dissolves. Every second you spend comparing your life to someone else's is a second spent wasting your own. Comparison is a thief. It robs you of your present, distorts your progress, and replaces gratitude with resentment. You are watching someone else's edited highlight reel and comparing it to your unfiltered behind the scenes. It is never a fair comparison, and it is never a useful one. Do not get emotionally attached to anyone beyond a healthy level, because people change, and even your closest friends can eventually become strangers. This is not a cynical view of the world. It is simply the truth of human growth. People evolve, circumstances shift, and not everyone is meant to walk the entire journey with you. Hold your relationships with an open hand, appreciate them fully while they last, and release them gracefully when it is time. Learn to be content by yourself. If you need the company of others just to feel okay, that dependency becomes a weakness. Solitude is a skill, and it is one of the most powerful skills you can develop. When you are comfortable alone, you stop tolerating bad company just to avoid silence. You stop forcing connections that drain you. You become selective, and in that selectiveness, you find genuine peace. Do not be afraid of being alone, because being by yourself is infinitely better than surrounding yourself with people who diminish you, drain your energy, or make you feel less than who you are. Bad company is not just unpleasant, it is dangerous. It slowly shapes your thinking, lowers your standards, and normalizes behaviors that hold you back. Choose solitude over toxic company every single time. The people who ask the most from you are almost always the ones who give the least. Pay attention to this pattern in your relationships. Those who constantly demand your time, energy, emotional support, and resources are rarely the ones standing beside you when you need the same in return. Generosity should be reciprocal, and relationships that consistently take without giving are not relationships worth protecting. Take your responsibilities seriously, but never take yourself too seriously. Your obligations to the people who depend on you, your work, and your commitments deserve your full attention. But your ego, your image, and your need to appear perfect in every moment, those deserve a great deal less weight. People who can laugh at themselves and move forward after failure are far more resilient and far more enjoyable to be around than those who treat every stumble as a tragedy. Fear is not there to stop you. It is there because you care. Fear is the emotional signal that something matters to you, that you are pushing against a boundary, that growth is possible on the other side. The things that frighten you most are often the things most worth pursuing. Reframe fear as a compass, not a wall. Never make permanent decisions based on temporary emotions. Anger, grief, heartbreak, and frustration all feel enormous in the moment, but they pass. The decisions you make in the heat of those feelings often do not. Before you send the message, walk away from the opportunity, end the relationship, or make the irreversible choice. Give the emotion time to settle. The clarity you gain from waiting, even a single day, can save you years of regret. If you put someone on a pedestal, you place them above your eye level, and they have no choice but to look down on you. This is true in relationships, in business, and in how we treat people we admire. Admiration is healthy, worship is not. When you treat another person as though they are untouchably superior to you, you quietly communicate that you believe you are less. That belief will shape every interaction you have with them. Finally, remember that people always give advice through the lens of their own experience, their own fears, their own regrets, and their own values. The person who warns you against taking a risk may have been burned by one. The person who pushes you towards stability may have suffered from a lack of it. Their advice is not necessarily wrong, but it is never entirely objective. Listen, consider, and then make the decision that aligns with who you are and where you're going. Not everything in your brain needs to come out of your mouth. One of the most underrated signs of intelligence is knowing when to stay silent. The urge to share every opinion, defend every position, and fill every silence is a habit that weakens your influence. People who speak with restraint are listened to more carefully when they do speak. Learn to let some thoughts pass without giving them a voice. Do not do anything that you will later have to lie about. This sounds simple, but it is a powerful standard to live by. If you find yourself planning to hide something, that is a sign the action itself is misaligned with your values. Integrity is not about being perfect. It is about making choices you are willing to stand behind openly. Light travels faster than sound, which is why some people appear bright until you hear them speak. Intelligence is demonstrated through depth, not volume. The loudest person in the room is rarely the most knowledgeable. Speak less, listen more, and when you do contribute, let it be something worth saying. Do not look for happiness in external places, in people, in possessions, or in achievements. Happiness is not something you find. It is something you cultivate from the inside. You can search endlessly and never locate it outside yourself, but the moment you stop chasing it and start practicing it, you realize it was accessible all along. You owe nothing to your younger self, but you owe everything to your present self. This is a liberating truth. Past versions of you made decisions with the information and maturity they had at the time. You're not bound by old identities, old labels, or old mistakes. Every day is a chance to operate from a newer, wiser version of yourself. True self-care is not about rest and indulgence alone. It is the harder work of recognizing that you are often your own greatest obstacle. Your habits, your beliefs about what you deserve, your patterns of self-sabotage, these are the things that hold you back far more than any external circumstance. Real self-care begins with honest self-examination. Your parents were right about more things than you were willing to admit when you were young. They may not have had degrees or formal education, but they carried the kind of wisdom that only comes from lived experience, from failure, from sacrifice, and from time. Stop dismissing their guidance simply because it came without credentials. Humility means being open to learning from any source, including the people who knew you before you knew yourself. Act like you have been there before. Whether you are walking into a room full of powerful people, taking on a role that stretches you, or handling success, carry yourself with calm confidence. Desperation, overexcitement, and nervousness signal that you feel out of place. Even when you are not yet sure of yourself, carry yourself as though you belong. With time, the inner reality follows the outward posture. Overthinking does not protect you from bad outcomes. It creates them. When you turn a situation over endlessly in your mind, you do not gain clarity. You gain confusion, manufactured anxiety, and doubt that was never based on evidence. The antidote to overthinking is action, even imperfect action, taken in a direction that feels right. When you feel anger rising, stop and ask yourself, will I even remember this moment in 10 years? If the answer is no, the anger does not deserve your full energy. Most of the things that infuriate us in the short term are entirely irrelevant in the long run. Save your fire for the things that genuinely matter. You only get one body. Feed it well, rest it properly, move it consistently. The energy, focus, and emotional resilience you need to pursue everything else in life depend entirely on the physical foundation you maintain. Your body is not separate from your goals. It is the instrument through which every goal is pursued. If someone feels the need to repeatedly emphasize that they are telling you the truth, there is a good chance they are not. Honest people do not need to preface their statements with guarantees. Truth stands on its own. When someone says, I swear, believe me, or I promise I'm being real with you before every sentence, let that be a signal to listen more carefully, not less. All you truly have power over is what you do with your time today. Not yesterday, which is fixed. Not tomorrow, which is uncertain. Today, this moment. The choices you make right now are the only ones that are genuinely within your control. That is both a humbling and an empowering realization. You will never ruin a role if you play yourself. Pretending to be someone you are not is exhausting, unsustainable, and ultimately unconvincing. The most magnetic people in the world are simply the most fully themselves. Authenticity does not require perfection. It requires honesty, and people can feel the difference. Do not compare your behind the scenes to someone else's highlight reel. Every person you admire has a version of their life they do not show publicly. The sleepless nights, the self-doubt, the failures, the quiet struggles. You are seeing their best moments and comparing them to your daily reality. It is a comparison built on incomplete information, and it will always make you feel smaller than you are. Missing someone does not necessarily mean you need them back in your life. You can grieve the loss of a person, a relationship, or a version of the past while also knowing that returning would not serve either of you. Nostalgia is powerful, but it is not always wise. The version of the relationship you miss may no longer exist, and trying to recapture it may cost you your peace. When choosing a life partner, physical attraction draws you in, but it is values that determine whether the relationship lasts. And when children enter the picture, values become everything. What you model, what you normalize, and what you prioritize will shape an entire human being's understanding of the world. Choose accordingly. You cannot have everything, at least not all at once. Every meaningful choice comes with a trade-off. The career that gives you freedom may cost you stability. The relationship that gives you security may ask something of your independence. Accept this openly rather than resisting it. The art of a good life is not in avoiding trade-offs, but in choosing them consciously. True friends are the ones who speak well of you when you are not in the room and speak honestly to your face when it matters. They will not tell you what you want to hear simply to protect your feelings. They will tell you what you need to hear because they respect you enough to do so. That combination of loyalty and honesty is rare. When you find it, protect it. Letting go is one of the hardest things a person can do, but it is often the most necessary. Holding on to resentment, to relationships past their expiration, to identities that no longer fit. It keeps you anchored to a version of the past that no longer exists. Let go not because it is easy, but because the space it creates is where your future grows. Every time you face a fear and walk through it, you build a kind of courage that compounds. The 10th time you do the thing that once terrified you, it barely registers. Bravery is not the absence of fear. It is a record of having faced fear before and survived. Build that record deliberately. Never make someone a priority in your life when you are only an option in theirs. The energy you pour into someone who is indifferent to your presence is energy stolen from people and pursuits that actually deserve it. Pay attention to how someone treats your time and your feelings when nothing is expected of them. That is where the truth lives. If you are trying to please everyone, you are serving no one, least of all yourself. People-pleasing is not kindness. It is a form of self-abandonment disguised as generosity. Have the courage to say no, to hold your ground, and to accept that not everyone will like you. The right people will respect you far more for it. You were given 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. Listen twice as much as you speak. The world's wisest people are almost always its most attentive listeners. They gather information before forming opinions. They understand before they respond. That patience turns ordinary conversations into genuine connection. The single most important thing you can accept in life is that change is constant. You will not be the same person at 40 that you were at 20. Your priorities will shift. Your relationships will evolve. Your beliefs will deepen or transform entirely. This is not loss. This is growth. Resistance to change is what causes suffering. Acceptance of it is what creates freedom. Life becomes measurably easier when you choose to see the good in other people. Not naively, not at the expense of your own discernment, but as a genuine default. People tend to rise or fall to meet the expectations placed on them. When you approach others with generosity of spirit, you often bring out the best in them and in yourself. You can cut down every flower in a garden, but you cannot stop spring from coming. No matter how thoroughly you have been set back, no matter how stripped of color your circumstances feel right now, renewal is built into the nature of things. Seasons change. Growth returns. Do not mistake a winter for a permanent state. Watch what people do, not what they say. Actions are the true language of character. People will tell you who they are with their words, but they will show you who they are with their choices. Over time, the gap between the two becomes the most important information you will ever have about a person. Everything you do, every job, every failure, every friendship, every detour, it all creates dots that you will one day be able to connect into a picture that makes sense. You cannot see the design while you are living inside it. Trust that the dots are forming a pattern and keep showing up. Success in any pursuit comes down to three things working together. Commitment gets you started by creating the decision. Consistency gets you somewhere by building the habit. And persistence keeps you going when progress slows and doubt creeps in. None of the three works without the others. Do not make promises you do not fully intend to keep. Words are a form of currency, and every broken promise devalues your word. Be careful what you commit to. And when you give your word, honor it even when it becomes inconvenient. That discipline builds a reputation that no resume ever could. Your purpose is not something you stumble upon one day while waiting for the right moment. It is something you create right where you are with what you have, through the act of doing meaningful work consistently. Purpose grows out of engagement. Stop waiting to discover it and start building it. Your life can genuinely change in a single moment. A conversation, a decision, a chance encounter, an idea that lands at exactly the right time. These things happen. That possibility should fill you with both humility and hope. Be grateful for what you have right now and remain open to what is still becoming possible. Real wealth is accumulated through experience, not possessions. Every new challenge taken on, every unfamiliar place visited, every skill developed, every difficult conversation navigated, these expand who you are in ways that money and things simply cannot. Seek experiences that stretch you. That is where your most durable riches live. Do not wait for perfect clarity before you act. Action creates clarity far more reliably than thinking does. Movement generates feedback. Feedback refines your direction. Sitting still waiting to feel ready is how years disappear. Take the imperfect step. The path becomes clearer from inside the journey than from outside it. Your mindset is not just an attitude. It is the lens through which you interpret every event in your life. Two people can face the identical circumstance, a rejection, a setback, a loss, and one will see a dead end while the other sees a turning point. The external event is the same. The internal interpretation is everything. Guard your mindset as the most important asset you own. If there is one thing worth dropping, it is the ego. The ego keeps you from asking for help when you need it, from admitting mistakes before they compound, from learning from people you have already dismissed as beneath you. Nothing blocks growth more efficiently than the belief that you already have enough figured out. Stay humble, stay curious. Gratitude is not just a pleasant feeling. It is a lens that reveals beauty that was always present but overlooked. The more consistently you practice it, the more evidence of it you find. This is not magical thinking. It is attentional training. You see what you are looking for. Choose to look for what is good. Fear is the single most common reason ordinary people never become who they are capable of being. Not a lack of talent, not a lack of opportunity. Fear. Control it, or it will control every decision you make for the rest of your life. It is never too late. That belief, more than any actual time constraint, is what keeps people frozen. History is full of people who started over at 50, who found their voice at 60, who built something remarkable after a lifetime of wrong turns. The only moment you truly cannot use is the one you waste believing it is too late. Do not let other people's doubts become your limits. Criticism from those who are not in the arena is rarely useful. People project their own fears and insecurities outward, and if you are doing something they wish they had the courage to try, you will hear about it. Let it pass. Your progress is the only response that matters. Your tomorrow can be completely different from today, but only if you are willing to do something different today. The future does not arrive on its own. It is built by the choices made in the present. Waiting for things to change without changing anything yourself is not hope. It is avoidance. Sometimes the world will try to tell you who you are, and it will be wrong. Labels from your past, judgments from people who do not know you fully. Roles that were placed on you before you were old enough to choose, you have to be still enough to hear your own voice beneath the noise. That inner voice developed through reflection and honest self-examination is your truest guide. Your life will not go according to plan. This is not a failure of the plan. It is a feature of life. The unexpected detours often lead to the most important destinations. The rigid insistence on a single path closes off 1,000 others. Hold your intentions firmly and your expectations loosely. People are not for you or against you. They are for themselves. Understanding this removes a great deal of unnecessary hurt. Most people are not thinking about how to support or undermine your journey. They are simply navigating their own. When someone disappoints you, the most useful question is rarely, why did they do this to me? And almost always, what were they trying to accomplish for themselves? You are stronger than you currently believe. This is one of those statements that sounds like a poster on a wall, but it is simply true. You've already survived every difficult day in your life. Your survival rate is 100%. Every hardship you have endured has deposited something into you. Patience, perspective, resilience, even when you could not feel it happening. You are the sum of everything you have already overcome. Nobody will watch out for you the way you can watch out for yourself. This is not a cynical statement. People love you, support you, and want good things for you. But they cannot know your inner experience, your limits, or your needs the way you do. Taking full ownership of your well-being is not selfishness. It is the most responsible thing you can do for yourself and for the people who depend on you. The days when you least want to do anything are almost always the days when doing something matters most. Momentum is fragile, and the discipline to act on your worst days is what separates those who eventually succeed from those who merely intended to. Show up on the hard days. That is where character is built. Hardships do not break ordinary people. They prepare them. Every difficulty you face is forming something in you that ease never could. The struggles you resent most in the moment are often the ones that produce your most useful qualities. Patience from waiting, empathy from suffering, strength from surviving. Pain is a part of life. Suffering, however, is largely a choice made in how we respond to pain. Pain is the event. Suffering is the story we tell about the event and how long we keep telling it. You can feel pain fully without building a permanent residence in it. Process it, learn from it, and release it. The future belongs to those who believe in it before they can see it. Belief is not a passive wish. It is an active orientation that shapes your decisions, your persistence, and your willingness to take risks. Trust yourself. Not because you have a guarantee of success, but because you are the only person who can decide what your life is going to mean. Trust yourself. That is the foundation on which everything else in this list is built. Not blind confidence, not the absence of doubt, but a steady, practiced trust that you are capable of navigating whatever comes, making better decisions than you have in the past, and becoming something more than you are right now. Everything begins and ends there. Trust yourself.